Hi everyone. Today we'll be discussing a very interesting and important question. Is a startup right for you? I'm not talking of starting your own startup. That might probably be even more challenging decision, but working for a startup. Working for a startup, is it a right decision for you? We're going to discuss this. I mean, the reason why I'm making this video is Deep Thought's partner company, Agile Recruit Tech, hires a lot of interns. We train interns and we place them in different companies on projects, right? I mean, they work on our roles, but we put them on projects of different companies. The reason why we do this is hiring interns and managing interns is not something which every company can do that well, because interns have more learning needs. Interns need to be handled a lot more carefully so that people who are young, people who are ready to grow and explode, I think need to be given the right platform to do so. And Deep Thought has been doing that quite well for the last 2.5 years. So now we're using that expertise in our sister concern company Agile to pick up youngsters like you and help you guys get wings and fly. So we work with startups, but again, startups are not meant for everyone. So I'm making this video so you know if startup is meant for you. I mean, the idea is not to judge you. The idea is not to judge you, but the idea is to set the expectation, right? So, but before we ask this question, is startup right for you? Let's ask, why does the world need startups? Because I think once we understand why the world needs startups, it becomes very easy for you to see if startup is actually right for you or not. The world needs startups because the world needs change. The world needs something new, right? I mean, right now you're listening to me through YouTube, right? YouTube was a startup at one point of time. It was acquired by Google. We're using Zoom. I mean, I'm recording this video through Zoom. So Zoom was a startup at one point of time, and today they're growing quite big after the pandemic, with the video conferencing getting a lot of demand. And you use Flipkart, you use Swiggy, you use Amazon. There's so many startups who are bringing new ideas into the world to change the way we work, to change the way we function. But the flip side of it is, for every one idea which really works, maybe 99 ideas fail. So the world needs risk takers. The world needs a few innovators. Now the question is, why do we take these risks? The answer is simple, right? That one risk which pays off, it creates so much of wealth. So many people are using WhatsApp today. So many people are using Swiggy today. There's so much of usage. There's so much of wealth created through that usage. And that wealth leads to prosperity. The economy takes off. Guys, think about it. California state in America has a GDP which is almost equal to the GDP of India, the fifth largest economy in the world. The fifth largest economy in the world, one state in America is able to match the GDP. How is this happening? It is because of innovation. In developing nations like India, because we are low on finances, we take less risks. Because we take less risks, our growth is also lesser. When we go for stability, the wealth doesn't multiply. I mean, you study economics, you'll understand where there's risk, there's a return. Where there's no risk, there's no return. But unfortunately, what happens is we are put into an employee mentality. And in an employee mentality, what happens? You go to a company, you work from 9 to 5 and you come back. But there's nothing such as having a dream for the economy. Talking of how you can give something to the economy. Okay, some people have challenges in thinking of it. Do not want to demean somebody who may have genuine challenges. But in case you are somebody who wants to add to the economy, who wants to create new jobs, who wants to create that new wealth, who wants to bring that new ideas in the world, then I think a startup is meant for you. And now when I talk of startup, I'm also talking of established corporates. Even in established corporates, if you're working for a new product team, you function like a corporate, right? Because the world doesn't already accept this. You've got to get the world to accept it. So the resources are, allocated in a less manner, and slowly you try to get adoption. Like Jio, when it was launched by Reliance, also would have been functioning like a startup, but yes, maybe a powerful startup. Now, why work for an early stage startup? Because in an early stage startup, the foundation isn't there already. When the foundation isn't there, you get a lot more freedom to be taking your decisions and to be involved in the decision making process. Now, if you're a teenager, I mean, a large corporate of course may not give you that opportunity to make your own decisions or impact big things. But if you're going into an early stage startup, I'm sure the founder would be more than happy to, if you're contributing well, more than happy to give you that power to take some decisions, to try out some new ideas and see what works, what doesn't work. So your ability to tinker around and your ability to try things and figure out what works, what doesn't work is, this best served in early stage startup. And if you ask me my personal opinion, I think every youngster of this country has to work in an early stage startup at least for 6 months during college, because, purely my opinion, That is because when you work for an early stage startup at a time when you don't have big financial responsibilities already, at a time when you don't have big financial responsibilities already, if you don't worry about money and just focus on how you can create value, I think you get a sense of how things really work. You get a sense of how things really work. Once you get a sense of how things really work, even in an established corporate, you'll understand how things work and you'll sort of be autonomous. You'll be able to take accountability for a few things. You'll be able to lead a team. Now, one problem in this world today, in corporates and governments, in NGOs, in startups, everywhere, is we do not have enough leaders. Because I think leadership again, to learn leadership again, you need some risk taking. You've got to get into some situations where you take risks, right? It's difficult to lead without taking risks. To give safety to the employees, you as a leader have to take risks. So leaders are unsung heroes. We celebrate farmers, we celebrate soldiers, we celebrate teachers, but I think the people whom we don't celebrate and the people whom we don't understand are leaders. Today, if we all are enjoying, this life we have around us, it is because leaders have organized the society and organized the economy for us. And the world doesn't have enough of them. When you have more leaders and more projects, there are more things which are taken up, right? There's more prosperity. The society is in a better state because you're able to execute a lot more of your ideas. Today, many of the ideas are not even executed. Why? Because you don't have the bandwidth to take so many projects up. Why can't you take up so many projects? You have workers, but you don't have leaders. So somebody might ask, hey, Tarun, you want to create so many leaders. What if the world has so many leaders? What will happen? Who will be the workers? Well, AI will be the worker. Don't worry about that. So you want to work on exciting technologies. You want to bring out the new. You want to work on metaverse. You want to work on AI. You want to work on all these things. Needs great amount of risk taking. One unfortunate thing about the Indian education system is we don't teach economics that well. So because we don't teach economics, the risk is not understood. So I'll not go into long lectures, doesn't help anyone. But all I'll say is if you're somebody who's adventurous, you're somebody who wants to tinker around, play around with things and see how something works, then I think a startup works for you. But you're somebody who's very happy with the existing education system, you want to prepare for some competitive exams, get some good marks in competitive exams, get into one job, and that's your goal. So if you have very clear goals in terms of getting into a job or getting good marks in a competitive exam and so on, probably startups are not for you. Because startups need a lot of risk taking. Startups need a lot of, working in a startup is like nurturing a baby, right? A little baby, carefully growing that baby. But why do people, there are some people who say, I don't want to have a child. That's perfectly okay. There are a lot of people that way. Perhaps even I'm that kind of a person because I don't have the time because I'm so involved in a startup. But there are people who just enjoy motherhood, who enjoy fatherhood. And why do they do that? Because they enjoy seeing the child grow up. So I think when you're building a new product, it's a similar experience, right? You build something new and it's going to change so many people's lives. And it's so exciting to see that. For me, at least, when I nurture a lot of youngsters and I see youngsters grow as fantastic leaders, I think that's a great feeling. You see that in my eyes, right? It's a very fulfilling sort of a feeling when you do that. So it needs a lot of nurturing. So there's a lot of time and a lot of emotions which go into it. So if you want something pretty basic, where you go do something, get a mention on your resume, it's not for you. But you want that ultimate experience where you nurture something and you see your idea grow and you see your idea impact a lot of people. You want to do that real world stuff. Let me tell you, it's going to be very demanding. It's going to be very taxing, but it's going to be worth it because the world needs these leaders. Yeah, the world needs these people who can create this economic output. Because if some people want job safety, you need these innovators, you need these leaders who can give this job safety to those people. Because that safe formula was figured out by innovators and leaders, right? Now, does the world reward the innovators and leaders? If you ask me, the corporate world does. Because if you're able to figure out how to manage innovation, you're able to figure out how to lead innovation, the corporates need a lot of people who can manage innovation for them, because the corporates do understand that today the world is changing at a lot more rapid pace than ever before. The world is changing much faster than ever before. If the world is changing much faster than ever before, you need innovation. If you don't have innovation, you'll become same what Nokia and BlackBerry and all those people. They could not innovate, they could not change with time, and they're almost non-existent today. So the world needs innovation. They need people who can manage innovation. But most of the world only wants safety. People who want safety cannot give innovation. No? So corporates, of course, need those people who can give innovation, and they pay like hell. And today, I have a lot of friends who were probably working in startups earlier. The startups couldn't do well. And today they've gone back into, startups which have become large corporates, and they're in very good roles in the startup corporates, if I may call them so. And earning well, having a high quality of life, but they're able to do that and they're able to make their own decisions and they're able to drive action because at one point they were in a startup, at one point they're working ground up and they understand things from the grassroots, right? I mean, if I have to conclude, I'll put it in this way. In India, there are two kinds of politicians: politicians who come from the people and politicians who come from the party. Politicians who come from the party only know how to take a mic and speak, they can never really connect with the people. But the politicians who come from the people, from the grassroots, they know the people really well, they know what happens at the ground level, and they can really change things, right? So whether we like them or hate them, I think a lot of these politicians have been changing our lives. In the same way, whether we like startups or hate startups, it is startups which are changing our lives. But to bring that kind of economic output and to bring that kind of economic impact, I think it needs us to start from the grassroots. So if you're willing to put that effort, a startup is for you. And I think I've made a compelling case for why startup, right? If you've heard me this long, I'm guessing this is something you're excited about. Well, I'm excited about it too. So go ahead, follow the link in the video description and take up the selection process. I'm sure we'd love to talk to each other. I'm sure we'd love to work with each other. Thanks a lot for listening to me and looking forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.